Hey everyone, welcome back to Musclehead Homestead. In this video, we're going to be refurbishing our entire wraparound porch and balcony. We'll quickly go over the process and steps it took to complete, discuss some of the challenges we ran into, and of course, show the results of how everything turned out. Now, before we get started, let me show you what I'm up against. We got porches here, we got porches there, we got porches everywhere. Virtually every side of this house has a porch or balcony that is going to be in need of some sort of repair or recovery, whatnot. So here we take a closer look at what condition the wood is in before we get started. As you can see, the previous stain is, let's just say, no longer functional. The railing is faded, growing mold and mildew everywhere. Definitely time to make a change. I started the process by using an all-in-one wood prep cleaner to remove as much dirt and grime from the wood as possible. I used a simple pump sprayer to apply the solution to the wood, waited a while, then went right into step 2, which was to power wash the deck. After waiting a day to let the wood dry, it was time to start step 3, sand each board. This was by far the most tedious step of the whole process, but also the most important. After all, there's nothing fun about getting terrible results because the right amount of preparation wasn't put in. Once that was finished, it was now time to start painting the rails. This took me quite a bit longer than expected because of having to paint both sides of the rail and the precision it requires for full coverage. Then it was on to painting the deck. I did have to use a minimal amount of masking tape to protect the siding and stepway, but overall this part of the process went quite a bit quicker because of using a 9-inch roller and stain pad with an extension. In total, the first deck took me a few days to complete, but overall we were very happy with the results. Now it was on to deck 2, beginning with the same previous steps. I did want to note that I had just enough deck cleaner to use on this smaller deck, but decided not to use it on the remaining decks simply because I felt the pressure washer was more than sufficient enough in cleaning the decks alone. Again, we made sure to sand each board carefully. This deck has a cover, so that also needed to be sanded and was the first thing to get painted. From there was the railing, then the deck, and finally the steps. Now it was on to the upstairs balcony. This is the before. Okay, obviously our first priority with the upstairs balcony was to first clean the balcony flooring. That was several years of dirt and grime buildup. Always good to get rid of that first. Of course, next came sanding and painting the rails accordingly. On to the next portion, which is going to be right that part, that right there. Next was a small back deck that leads to the kitchen. This is the smallest and least used deck of the house, and with it not being covered, it only took a few days to have it finished. Again, sanding, tightening down loose screws, painting the rails, and then finishing the deck and steps. Back porch, and gonna be the most challenging. This is just completely unfinished. You get splinters just rubbing your hands on this. A lot of this need to be sanded. because I don't want to have to not grab this because I'm afraid of getting splinters. And then up here I'll do general sanding as necessary. And then I'm also going to use I'm also going to use my paint sprayer on this. The only thing I'm really worried about getting paint on is the siding. So if I can just avoid too much overspray on that, cover that up accordingly, should be okay. Finally, we are on the back porch. This was the most challenging porch by far. As you can see, I decided to use my paint sprayer to paint the porch rafters and beams. To do this, I had to prep the siding to avoid as much overspray as possible. Of course, overspray in this manner is inevitable, but overall rather easy to manage with some basic touch-ups once everything is complete. Then once again, it's on to painting the rails, and last, finishing up with the deck floor and steps. Alright, unfortunately I wasn't able to finish every deck and balcony. We still have one left to refurbish. The rainy season here in Northern Oregon is a real thing, and if you're not finished with a project like this by mid-October, then it's gonna have to wait until next spring, so that's when I'll resume this project next. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be seeing you in the next episode of Musclehead Homestead.